And there we go. That should be working. I can also turn mic. There we go. Well, I'm going to hop right into it. Let me. We're going to turn off that. Okay, there we go. Oh, I'm some reason shorter. Very intriguing. Moving on. Before I get, I ran out of time yesterday, but so I wanted to say this because I do think it's actually important. The Trump administration just did efforts to rejoin the offshore drilling agencies for the that were part of the 2009 BP spills. There we go. So there we go. That should fix it. And well, technically they were merged and then they diverged under Obama, former President Obama, and then with the current Trump's administration, they basically are allowed to merge again. This happened last Friday. They said that was to increase efficiencies, re-permitting of offshore/gas drilling. And okay. And but like so I have some clips set up for this. So here we go. Going to switch to that view. And there we go. Oopsie.
Still got about 11 or 15 people missing.
There are many checks before you get to activating the blowout preventer. That is the ultimate fail-safe mechanism, and for whatever reason, and we don't understand that yet, it failed to operate.
And so the clips that I'm watching are going to be talking about the initial oil spill and talking about the impact of them. And let me fix that and we'll go. There we go.
Now we are operating 6 remote-operated vehicles simultaneously around the blowout preventer, both monitoring the blowout preventer and trying to close in the flow of oil. Development Driller 3 is now on location, and we expect to start drilling the relief well within 48 hours. We've also a new technique identified yesterday afternoon, which is to try to deploy dispersants at the source, at the location subsea.
Well, the dome this morning is about 200 feet above the leak.
I actually think this. Oh, let me. Organizing there. Here we go. We're going to go back. There we go.
Unleashed in the Gulf of Mexico continues to spew crude oil. There are no reliable estimates of how much oil is pouring into the Gulf, but it comes to many millions of gallons since the catastrophic blowout. 11 explosions that sank one of the most sophisticated drilling rigs in the world, the Deepwater Horizon. This week, Congress continues its investigation, but Congress has not heard from the man you are about to meet. Mike Williams was one of the last crew members.
Let me actually fix the audio before I blast anyone else's ears out.
To escape the inferno. He says the destruction of the Deepwater Horizon had been building for weeks in a series of mishaps. The night of the disaster, he was in his workshop when he heard the rig's engines suddenly run wild. That was the moment that explosive gas was shooting across the decks, being sucked into the engines that powered the rig's generators.
I hear the engines revving. The lights are glowing. I'm hearing the alarms. I mean, they're at a constant state now. It's just beep, 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 beep. It doesn't stop. But even that's starting to get drowned out by the sound of the engine increasing in speed. And my lights get so incredibly...
I'm going to test this real quick. Testing.
I'm pushing my way back from the desk when my computer monitor exploded.
This is the Deepwater Horizon in the hours before its destruction, the night of April 20th. Ironically, the end was coming only months after the rig's greatest achievement. Mike Williams was the chief electronics technician in charge of the rig's computers and electrical systems, and 7 months before, he'd helped the crew drill the deepest oil well in history, 35,000 feet.
It was special. There's no way around it. Everyone was talking about it. The congratulations that were flowing around, it made you feel proud to work there.
Williams worked for the owner, Transocean, the largest offshore drilling company. Like its sister rigs, the Deepwater Horizon cost $350 million, rose 378 feet from bottom to top, both advanced and safe. None of her 126 crew had been seriously injured in 7 years. The safety record was remarkable because offshore drilling today pushes technology with challenges matched only by the space program. Deepwater Horizon was in 5,000 feet of water and would drill another 13,000 feet, a total of 3.5 miles. The oil and gas down there are under enormous pressure, and the key to keeping that pressure under control is this fluid that drillers call mud. Mud is a man-made drilling fluid that's pumped down the well and back up the sides in continuous circulation. The sheer weight of this fluid keeps the oil and gas down and the well under control.
Come on, come on.
The tension in every drilling operation is between doing things safely and doing them fast. Time is money, and this job was costing BP $1 million a day.
Okay, and so...
But Williams says there was
sorry, I'm just
trouble from
updating my
the
stream
start.
titles right now,
Getting
so...
to the oil was taking too long.
How long did you expect it to take?
We were told 21 days.
How long did it actually take?
We were at 6 weeks.
With the schedule slipping,
Okay, there we go.
Williams says a BP manager
I will fully admit, I don't know. I'm doing this to learn about the BP oil spill because I don't know everything don't know about it. And since with the Trump administration working to deregulate deregulate oil companies right now, so I'm just like looking into that now. There we go.
ordered a faster pace.
And he requested to the driller, hey, let's bump it up, let's bump it up. And what he was talking about there is he's bumping up the rate of penetration, how fast the drill bit is going down.
Williams says going faster caused the bottom of the well to split open, swallowing tools and the drilling fluid called mud.
We actually got stuck. And we got stuck so bad that we had to send tools down into the drill pipe and sever the pipe.
That well was abandoned.
Oh, that feels like expensive and timely, so...
Deepwater Horizon had to drill a new route to the oil. It cost BP more than 2 weeks and millions of dollars.
We were informed of this during one of the safety meetings, that somewhere in the neighborhood of $25 million was lost in bottom hole assembly and mud. And you always kind of knew that in the back of your mind when they start throwing these big numbers around, that there was going to be a push coming, a push to pick up production, pick up the pace.
There was pressure on the crew after this happened?
There's always pressure, but yes, the pressure was increased.
Well, part of me doesn't. It saddens me because like I think machinery itself is like very beautiful, and like I wouldn't want to push machinery back like past to the point of breaking and that stuff, because I understand of how fragile it is, and like I know it's expensive, but it's more of I dislike so much that they are increasing production because the stockholders want to increase their production, and stockholders always want, you have to show proof to your stockholders that you're always making money. And I dislike the rush mentality of everything, or like as soon as possible. And when you speed up things, lesser quality or injuries happen, or both.
But the trouble was just beginning. When drilling resumed, Williams says there was an accident on the rig that has not been reported before. He says 4 weeks before the explosion, the rig's most vital piece of safety equipment was damaged. Down near the seabed is the blowout preventer, or BOP. It's used to seal the well shut in order to test the pressure and integrity of the well, and in case of a blowout, it's the crew's only hope. A key component is a rubber gasket at the top called an annular, which can close tightly around the drill pipe. Williams says that during a test they closed the gasket, but while it was shut tight, a crewman on deck accidentally nudged a joystick, applying hundreds of thousands of pounds of force and moving 15 feet of drill pipe through the closed blowout preventer. Later, a man monitoring drilling fluid rising to the top made a troubling find.
He discovered chunks of rubber in the drilling fluid. He thought it was important enough to gather this double handful of chunks of rubber and bring them into the driller shack. I recall asking the supervisor if this was out of the ordinary. He said, "Oh, it's no big deal."
And this is one of the reasons why I'm also for the idea of penalties or fines or penalties to corporations on the percentage of the profit they make. Because there's no inflation, deflation, there's no way to predict the exact rate of currency. So just make it like 10 or 20% of the profit automatically is fined of it, and then it's split among some of the people who are injured, and included in this case would be the environment. The calculations for that would be complicated, I understand that. But like the companies don't care about breaking the laws because there is no penalty big enough penalty for them to carry. It's just poking them at max.
And I thought, how can it be not a big deal? There's chunks of our seal is now missing.
And Williams says he knew about another problem with the blowout preventer. The BOP is operated from the surface by wires connected to 2 control pods. One is a backup. Williams says that one of the pods lost some of its function weeks before. Transocean tells us the BOP was tested by remote control after these incidents and passed. But nearly a mile below, there was no way to know how much damage there was or why the pod seemed unreliable. In the hours before the disaster, Deepwater Horizon's work was nearly done. All that was left was to seal the well closed. The oil would be pumped out by another rig later. Williams says that during a safety meeting, the manager for the rig owner, Transocean, was explaining how they were going to close the well when the manager from BP interrupted.
I had the BP company man sitting directly beside me, and he literally perked up and said, "Well, my process is different, and I think we're going to do it this way." And they kind of lined out the way he thought it should go that day. So there was sort of a chest bumping kind of deal. The communication seemed to really break down as to who was ultimately in charge.
The day of the accident, BP flew several managers to the Deepwater Horizon for a ceremony to congratulate the crew for 7 years without an injury. While they were there, a surge of explosive gas came flying up the well from 3 miles below. The rig's diesel engines, which power its electric generators, sucked in the gas and began to run wild.
I'm hearing hissing.
Okay. I know the timing of that is just like sheer irony. And
Engines are over revving, and then all of a sudden, all the lights in my shop just started getting brighter and brighter and brighter. And I knew then something bad was getting ready to happen.
It was almost 10 at night, and directly under the Deepwater Horizon were
You
four
heard
men
this
in a fishing boat.
rushing sound, this
Albert
hissing
Hendry,
sound,
Dustin
and then
King,
you moved
Brian
off and you
Chasen.
okay.
started fishing.
And Wesley Borg.
When I heard the gas coming out,
Oh,
I knew
I thought
exactly
my
what it was
audio was double
almost
layering,
immediately.
so it's
When
confused
the
there for a
gas
second
cloud
there.
was descending on you, what was that like?
It was scary, and when I looked at it, it burned my eyes, and I knew we had to get out of there.
You could tell what it was.
I knew it was methane.
On the rig, Mike Williams was reaching for a door to investigate the engine noise.
These are 3-inch thick steel fire-rated doors with 6 stainless steel hinges supporting them on the frame. As I reached for the handle, I heard this awful hissing noise, this whoosh, and at the height of the hiss, a huge explosion. The explosion literally rips the door from the hinges, impacts me and takes me to the other side of the shop. And I'm up against the wall when I finally come around with a door on top of me. And I remember thinking to myself, this is it. I'm gonna die right here.
The men on the fishing boat had a camera.
I'm amazed that anyone survived. I'm
began
happy
to
that they
crawl across
did,
the
but I'm
floor.
amazed that
As I got
they
to the next
survived.
door, it exploded and took me, the door, and slid me about 35 feet backwards again and planted me up against another wall. At that point, I actually got angry. I was mad at the doors. I was mad that these fire doors that are supposed to protect me are hurting me. And at that point, I made a decision. I'm going to get outside. I may die out there, but I'm going to get outside. So I crawl across the grid work of the floor and make my way to that opening where I see the light. I made it out the door, and I thought to myself, I've accomplished what I set out to accomplish. I made it outside. At least now I can breathe. I may die out here, but I can breathe.
Williams couldn't see. Something was pouring into his eyes, and that's when he noticed a gash on his forehead.
I didn't know if it was blood. I didn't know if it was brains. I didn't know if it was flesh. I didn't know what it was. I just knew I was in trouble. At that point, I grabbed a life jacket. I was on the aft lifeboat deck. There were 2 functioning lifeboats at my disposal right there. But I knew I couldn't board them. I had responsibilities.
His responsibility was to report to the bridge, the rig's command center.
I'm hearing alarms. I'm hearing radio chatter, mayday, mayday, mayday. We've lost propulsion. We've lost power. We have a fire. Man overboard on the starboard forward deck.
Multiple personnel on water. Any person in the vicinity for help will be really appreciated.
Williams says that on the bridge, he watched them try to activate emergency systems.
The BOP that was supposed to protect us and keep us from the blowout obviously had failed, and now the emergency disconnect to get us away from this fuel source has failed. We have no communications to the BOP.
Situation around, fire in the water, people jumping in the water, and shipping life rafts.
And I see one of the lifeboats in the water, and it's motoring away from the vessel. I looked at the captain and asked him, I said, what's going on? He said, I've given the order to abandon ship.
Every Sunday, they had practice lifeboat drills and the procedure for making sure that everyone was accounted for. But in the panic, all that went to hell. The lifeboats were leaving.
They're leaving without you?
They have left without the captain and without knowing that they had everyone that had survived all this on board. I've been left now by 2 lifeboats. And I look at the captain and I said, what do we do now? By now, the fire is not only on the derrick, it's starting to spread to the deck. At that point, there were several more explosions, large, intense explosions.
What do they feel like, sound like?
It just take your breath away type explosions, shake your body to the core explosions. Take your vision away from the percussion of the explosions.
About 8 survivors were left on the rig. They dropped an inflatable raft from a crane.
I didn't
but
actually realize how small the crews are. Like, I always thought like be like 100 men. Well, I don't know how big, like, square footage of that area. Because like how much has to be like the maintenance of it, the engineers. I mean maintenance as like, I don't want to say janitors, but like doctors in case anything happens. Engineers, supervisors, someone tracking real time the numbers and everything.
with only a few of the survivors on the raft, it was launched, leaving Williams, another man, and a crewwoman named Andrea.
I remember looking at Andrea and seeing that look in her eyes of she had quit, she had given up. I remember her saying, I'm scared. And I said, it's okay to be scared, I'm scared too. She said, what are we gonna do? I said, we're gonna burn up or we're gonna jump.
How far is it to the sea?
Maybe 90 feet, 100 feet. It's a long ways.
In the middle of the night, with blood in his eyes, fire at his back, and the sea 10 stories below, Williams made his choice.
I remember closing my eyes and saying a prayer and asking God to tell my wife, little girl, that Daddy did everything he could. And if I survive this, it's for a reason. I made those 3 steps, and I pushed off the end of the rig. And I fell for what seemed like forever. A lot of things go through your mind.
The story will continue after this. With a life jacket, Mike Williams, the chief electronics technician aboard the Deepwater Horizon, jumped feet first off the deck and away from the inferno. He had witnessed key events before the disaster, but if he was going to tell anyone, he would have to survive a 10-story drop into the sea.
I went down way below the surface, obviously. And when I popped back up, I felt like, okay, I've made it. But I feel this god-awful burning all over me. And I'm thinking, am I on fire? You know, I just don't know. So I start doing the only thing I know to do, swim. I got to get away from this thing. I could tell I was floating in oil and grease and diesel fuel. I mean, it was just the smell. And I remember looking under the rig and seeing the water on fire. And I thought, what have you done? You were dry and you weren't covered in oil up there. Now you've jumped and you've made this and you've landed in oil. The fire's gonna come across the water and you're gonna burn up. And I thought that you just gotta swim harder. So I swam and I kicked and I swam and I kicked and I swam as hard as I could until I remember not feeling any more pain. And I didn't hear anything. And I thought, well, I must have burned up because I don't feel anything, I don't hear anything, I don't smell anything. I must be dead. And I remember a real faint voice of, over here, and I thought, what in the world is that? And the next thing I know, he grabbed my life jacket and flipped me over into this small open-bowed boat. I didn't know who he was, I didn't know where he'd come from, I didn't care. I was now out of the water.
Williams' survival may be critical to the investigation. We took his story to Dr. Bob B., a professor of engineering at the University of California, Berkeley. Last week, the White House asked B to help analyze the Deepwater Horizon accident. B investigated the Columbia Space Shuttle disaster for NASA and the Hurricane Katrina disaster for the National Science Foundation. B's voice never completely recovered from the weeks that he spent in the flood in New Orleans, but as the White House found, he's among the nation's best. He's investigated more than 20 offshore rig disasters.
Mr. Williams comes forward with these very detailed elements from his viewpoints on the rig. That's a brave and intelligent man.
What he's saying is very important to this investigation, you believe?
It is.
What strikes Professor B is Mike Williams' description of the blowout preventer. Williams says that in a drilling accident 4 weeks before the explosion, the critical rubber gasket called an annular was damaged, and pieces of it started coming out of the well.
According to Williams, when parts of the annular start coming up onto the deck, someone from Transocean says, look, don't worry
I'm just
about it.
thinking that there was some water. Oh, you want to hydrate? I did actually fix the hydrate thing now. I fixed hydrate. I have lurking now, and I also do have I also do have posture check. I need to fix the seat so it's bigger, and I also do have head pad. Oh, and I did actually add the Labubu command, like you wanted. Oh, by the way, this is me being a little bit chaotically evil. I made it so the Labubu's the smallest is Labubu's only like 67% of its size. So I might make a command that's like 67,000 and make it so it's actually a bigger Labubu. Labubu. What the heck? So yeah, I can make that command so you can have a bigger Labubu, because right now the one that hits, I actually have. There we go. It's a tiny one. It's a super tiny one. But yeah, so I have that done. I don't know why. Weird. Tiny. Wait, what did you get timed out for? You got timed out by stream elements? Hold on. I was like, why did all your messages disappear all of a sudden? Get rid of that. Okay, there we go. Oh, Dr. Jace was streaming. You just get a causing chaos. That's fair. What were you debating? I didn't even know that Dr. Jace was streaming right now. Yeah. I mean, fair issues. I mean, I think fair issues to talk about. I think majority of all the immigration problems come from one, undocumented immigrants are not voting in U.S. elections. That's a fact. That is a fact. It has only been 72 since 1992, I believe. I can double check the year. Also, like, border security is more of the problem of one. A lot of people don't realize that COVID was like, it's like a pipe valve. And as time went on, it built and built and built because the SCOTUS, stopped Biden from even opening up earlier. And so more and more people just kept building. And so as soon as you open it, of course there'll be a flood of people. That's just a natural thing because it was building for like 2.5 years. Your desire does not change to go into US just because time happens. It might actually make it more urgent. That's a fair idea because like I will fully admit I've only eaten like I don't know if sushi, I want to say sushi's Japanese. But like just even Mexican places, which I have had that as well. Local Mexican restaurants versus corporate ones have different spice levels and intensities and flavors and textures. And like the corporations make it as simple as possible so everyone likes it to be safe. Yeah, I did hear that sushi is made a lot by individuals who are Chinese. But yeah. So like no, I agree. Ethnic I don't I was supposed to say ethnic food places, but it sounds weird. But like no, places that are people who come from the culture who created the food have a more flavorful and better tasting food because of the history, the care, the complex flavor profile, the texture, the smells, because corporations get rid of all those to be more money efficient. And the corporate, if you want to make a buck, they're not wrong. But if you want to make good product or have experience, you go to those places. And oh, you want slave labor? No, I want everyone equally paid fairly. Even if everyone, I think everyone, this includes. I think that if a corporation's caught using undocumented individuals, they get fined by a percent of their profit. So to get rid of that, I think undocumented individuals are encouraged to get working visas, and more working visas are available. Even training programs, because we need immigration since we're in a deficit when it comes to the birth rate in the United States. That is all needed right now. I have never had Iranian food. I don't know about the Chinese restaurant slash MCG scare though. I didn't know that was a thing. Huh. I don't even know Allah food? I didn't even know that was a type of food. But yeah. I mean like you can still be for pro like my problem with immigration currently is our court systems are tying people up and it's taking a lot of money and a lot of time. Like money from the side of the undocumented immigrants, but also sides from the amount of money we have to pay our judges to oversee everything. So we add more judges, which I know will increase money, but we get more undocumented individuals so they can pay taxes sooner. So I think we'll get the money back even quicker. We have training programs. Uh, that's a big. What is MCG? I don't even know what that place is. But yeah, monosodium glutamate. Oh, okay. I didn't even know that place existed at all. That. Oh. I thought it was a restaurant. I thought it was a restaurant. I'm like, why is it? Why does a restaurant have such a scientific sounding name? That'd be a terrible name. Unami Boost. Open a restaurant called MCG4ME. Maybe. That'd be fun just trying to advertise it. Like, I know the restaurants are very hard. I'm not trying to dismay that. But, like, just trying. sell a restaurant with that name would be fun. Ooh, would it be like space theme? Like a techno future Japanese restaurant? Like pseudo cyberpunk vibes? I think that'd be fun. That reminds me, I do need to beat that game though. I can't scroll in that view. I was partially tempted to say, we have robots cooking all of the food. What? I haven't gone to a sushi place like this, but I've heard about it. Conveyor belt sushi, where you basically they put on a conveyor belt and you take what you want. I believe is the thing. I've only had like bought like personal sushi or like that stuff. I don't think was there anywhere I could have gotten it. Oh, by the way, if you want to increase your points, you before I forget. Is fudge, I had a whole entire list. Oh, you need to watch for more than 5 minutes, claim bonuses, each time you do a watch streak, which is every 5 days, you will get additional 455 points. I mean that is fair. That makes sense. Because like I really like tempura for some reason, but like I will try. I have a very weird palate when it comes to sushi. I don't even know if tempura counts as traditional sushi because of how it's made. It is. I love tempura so much, and also I watched pseudo funny thing is I watched so much anime that like I first ate sushi when I was like 17 or 18. So in just doing that alone, I was able to use chopsticks without anyone telling me how to because I watched so much anime. But yeah. I don't know how I feel about this honor. This feels very weird. But that's good to know I have that honor. But yeah, no. I don't. I just think it's funny that anime taught me how to use chopsticks. I just find that hysterical beyond me. An anime high school on burgers. I don't know. Maybe it's because it's how easy it is to make burgers. I mean, does Japan have a lot of burger places? Like, I do want to go to Japan someday. I just with the current world, a lot of places have a weird relationship with America. I think a lot of it's because a lot of media is based in here. When you think of like the media that everyone knows worldwide, Hollywood movies, DC Comics, Marvel. Yes, I'm doing comic books first because I'm too much of a comic book nerd. When you talk a lot about Hollywood movies, Hollywood movies produced here. But a lot of the film industry like started in America, and a lot of IPs Disney owns so much. When I think of other countries, anime, that's a whole entire complicated category because I probably don't even know like 5% of it. I know Japan has that, but anime is looked at weirdly because it's cartoon, like a former cartoons. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just adults have a very weird view about cartoons. But then we look. British has Doctor Who. Maybe if you know Midsummer Mysteries, but I can't think of any other IPs outside of like anime, Doctor Who, and Midsummer Mysteries outside of America. I understand that I'm American. I do. Okay, I don't know. So you want me to type in McDonald's Japan ad for New York burgers? Can I search this on Brave or do I have to do it on Google? Hold on. It scared me. Your joke scared me. That's fair. But yeah, fair. I was looking down at my stream deck. That is fair. You have the right to use your points the way you want. I also, if I were to do, if I actually started using, predictions, I could actually help increase the points a lot. Like, I want to do a segment later on about Trump. I'm gonna, so Caroline Levitt is, what time is it now? Okay, last hour ago she did a speech. I don't know if it's still continuing. And Pete Hegseth. I'm tempted to make a prediction poll where people can bet on what's going to happen. And they can actually increase their poll. I did not know that. Oh. But anyway, if I make a prediction and if you guess right, you can increase your points is the more succinct version of what I was trying to say. I mean, I do think Japan has cooler buns. I don't know why the buns are in that shape. I think it's cool. But yeah. But like no, I was watching. I didn't get. Nope, that was not one. I was watching about the BP oil spill because Trump is increasing oil production. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, like French, like, does, like, this is a serious question. Does France have French fries? Because I don't know, like, like, I think at one point I remembered what happened about, like, how they're invented, but they weren't, like, invented in France. Just, I'm gonna buy a plane ticket and just go straight to France, just to see if they have French fries. That's it. Also to see if they have pizza. But yeah, also, if you, I didn't know that was a dispute. I thought they were made in America because of, like, them miscutting a potato chip or something. Or is that the backward story of it? Of, or is it that they screwed up making a French fry and they accidentally made a potato chip? That wasn't it. Don't know which way it is. Shawarma Man? Who is that? I have no idea who Shawarma Man is. Okay. Wait, are we? Am I supposed to look at their? Wait, are you saying this place? I don't know. Oh, look at their TikTok. Okay, hold on. I don't think I'm actually even logged into TikTok on the browser. I redid my browser recently. Which one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know which one's Uncle Roger. Is that? Okay, I was guessing. I was gonna say.
You Sharma man from Instagram? You have a very funny accent, my friend. Your accent sound weird too, also. I was just. What do you mean? I speak proper English. Proper. Say with me. It's proper English, the Canadian way, my friend. What part of Canada? Pakistan? You must be listening in Malaysian. And you must be speaking in Sharma. Your accent sounds like it's doing kung fu. And your accent sounds like TSA additional screening. Thank you for the food. Have a great day. Have a great day. I'll beat. Abbas, stop the car. Delivery for Uncle Roger. Your nephew.
That saddens me that they have to go through additional screening. I'm not gonna go my rant about that. But like, yeah, no. Fair deduction. I mean, yeah. Oh, and okay. Oh, I also finally got it, so I am now doing vertical streaming and horizontal streaming at the same time now. So I have that working now. So that's very interesting to for me to actually get that working now. That's weird. But yeah, I have that actually working now.
What does that tell you?
Houston, I think we have a problem.
Here's why that's so important. The annular is used to seal the well for pressure tests, and those tests determine whether dangerous gas is seeping in.
So if the annular is damaged, if I understand you correctly, you can't do the pressure.
Oh, I deal with this. Systemic racism is bad. Hurtful racism is bad. I am not going to comment on the second one. I think I am. I'm not going to tell someone they can't do that because, like, I think I'm too white to actually have a response to that. So I'm not going to have. I don't think it's my place to comment. I understand, like, yeah. I think I have too much white privilege to actually respond to, like, to say half a
Test in a reliable way.
That's correct. You may get pressure test recordings, but because you're leaking pressure, they're not reliable.
Mike?
What do you know about the BP oil spill, Pika? Oh, I forgot. I have an ad coming up. I'm gonna wait until it's a minute from the ad to do that. But yeah.
Williams also told us that a backup control system to the blowout preventer called a pod had lost some of its functions.
What is the standard operating procedure if you lose one of the control pods on the BOP?
Reestablish it, fix it. It's like losing one of your legs.
The morning of the disaster, according to Williams, there was an argument in front of all of the men on the shift between the Transocean manager and the BP manager. Do you know what that argument was about?
Yes.
What was it?
Who's boss?
I mean, ducks covered in oil is very sad. I'm looking into it because Trump is thinking about merging two companies. They were demerged under Obama, and they restructured the organization of the government because environment used to be with budget and like efficiency of spending. And Obama said that's conflicting messages. And I do have it working now. Cool. Oh yeah, yes, he's killing competition. He is also going to be the two oil companies that were demerged because the oil spill are now merging again. They are going to increase production around our shores again, and he is merging the budget with the environment department again to make it so they're in the same area. And so I wanted to get the background knowledge of how the BP oil spill happened to begin with, because I will fully admit I've heard of it as a kid, but I didn't know like the details of it. But yeah. And that's started. Please please sub, please use Turbo or use Emmy or Amazon Prime to skip the ad. And everyone who sticks through the ad, thank you so much for doing so. And if you have already subbed or used Turbo, you can play words on stream. I didn't realize it. Boy, okay. It should be okay. We're just going to. And we're back. Thank you for everyone who stuck through the ad. So yeah. Oh, I clicked on the wrong thing.
Subcontractor Halliburton placed 3 concrete plugs, like corks, in the column. The Transocean manager wanted to do this with the column full of heavy drilling fluid, what drillers call mud, to keep the pressure down below contained. But the BP manager wanted to begin to remove the mud before the last plug was set. That would reduce the pressure controlling the well before the plugs were finished. Why would BP want to do that?
It expedites the subsequent steps.
It's a matter of going faster.
Faster, sure.
Who won the argument?
BP.
If the mud had been left in the column, would there have been a blowout?
It doesn't look like it.
To do it BP's way, they had to be absolutely certain that the first 2 plugs were keeping the pressure down. That life or death test was done using the blowout preventer, which had the damaged gasket. Investigators have also found that the BOP had a hydraulic leak and a weak battery. Weeks before the disaster.
So it's like 4 mechanical failures in that one device alone. And then there's a failure in like following proper procedure during a panic, which I'm not going to critique. Like, I understand panic will happen after an event like this.
They know that they are drilling into a very dangerous formation. The formation has told them that.
That's correct.
And has cost them millions of dollars.
That's correct.
And they know the BOP is broken.
Correct.
Broken in a number of ways.
Correct.
What is the appropriate thing to do at that point?
I express it to my students this way. It's stop, think, don't do something stupid.
They didn't stop. As the drilling fluid was removed, relieving the downward pressure, the plugs failed. The blowout preventer didn't work, and 11 men were incinerated. 115 crew members survived. 2 days later, the Deepwater...
Okay, I was thinking there was like going to be over 100 members. Okay, my logic is sound.
Horizon sank to the bottom. This was just the latest disaster for a company that is the largest oil producer in the United States. BP, once known as British Petroleum, was found willfully negligent in a 2000...
I did not know that's what BP stand for. I did not know that was nicknamed for British Petroleum. I had no idea that was why.
2005 Texas refinery explosion that killed 15 of its workers.
But,
BP was hit with $108 million in fines, the highest workplace safety fines in U.S. history.
How much of that is the profit,
Now,
though?
we have found there is new concern about another BP facility in the Gulf. A former BP insider tells us...
I don't think that's what it sounds for British Petroleum. But I understand after this event, that's how it feels.
This platform, called Atlantis, is a greater threat than the Deepwater Horizon. Ken Abbott has worked for Shell and GE, and in 2008 he was hired by BP to manage thousands of engineering drawings for the Atlantis platform.
They serve as blueprints and also as a operator manual, if you will, on how to make this thing work and, more importantly, how to shut it down in an emergency.
But Abbott says that he found that 89% of those critical drawings had not been inspected and approved by BP engineers. Even worse, he says 95% of the underwater welding plans had never been approved either. Are these welding procedures supposed to be approved in the paperwork before the welds are done?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So they're
critical.
Critical. Abbott's charges are backed up by BP internal emails. In 2008, BP manager Barry Duff wrote that the lack of approved drawings could result in
sad.
catastrophic operator errors. And currently, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of subsea documents that have never been finalized. Duff called the practice fundamentally wrong.
I don't understand why there's not more laws regulating this, and like I'm like just saying double check everything. Like I understand capital. I do.
I've never seen this kind of attitude where, you know, safety doesn't seem to matter, and when you complain of a problem like Barry did and like I did and try to fix it, you're just criticized and pushed aside.
Ken Abbott was laid off. He took his concerns to a consumer advocacy group called Food and Water Watch. They're asking Congress to investigate, and he is filing suit in an attempt to force the federal government to shut down Atlantis.
The Atlantis is still pumping away out there, 200,000 barrels a day, and it'll be 4 times that in a year or two when they put in all 16 wells. I mean, if something happens here, it'll make the Deepwater Horizon look like a bubble in the water by comparison.
In an email, BP told us the Atlantis crew had all the documents it needs to run the platform safely. We also wanted BP's perspective on the Deepwater Horizon disaster. The company scheduled an interview with its CEO, Tony Hayward, and then they canceled, saying no one at BP could sit down with 60 Minutes for this report. In other interviews, Hayward has said this about Transocean, the owner of the Deepwater Horizon.
The responsibility. I have no idea why they would cancel this type of meeting right afterwards.
For safety on the drilling rig is with Transocean. It is their rig, their equipment, their people, their systems, their safety processes.
When BP's chief executive officer, Tony Hayward, says that this is Transocean's accident, what do you say?
I get sick. This kind of division in the industry is a killer. The industry is comprised of many organizations, and they all share the responsibility for successful operations. And to start placing, we'll call it these barriers, and pointing fingers at each other is totally destructive.
But who's responsible?
BP.
We went out on the Gulf and found mats of thick floating oil. No one has a fix on how much oil is shooting out of the well, but some of the best estimates suggest it's the equivalent of the Exxon Valdez spill every 4 to 7 days. Scientists are now reporting vast plumes of oil up to 10 miles long under the surface. The spill has cost BP about $500 million so far, but consider, in just the first 3 months of this year, BP made profits of $6 billion.
And this is 7 years ago, by the way. So, like, that's a...
There are plenty of accusations to go around that BP pressed for speed, Halliburton's cement plugs failed, and Transocean damaged the blowout preventer. Through all the red flags, they pressed ahead. It was, after all, the Deepwater Horizon, the world record holder, celebrated as among the safest in the fleet.
Men lost their lives. I don't know how else to say it. All the things that they told us could never happen, happened.
And that was one of the surviving crew members. But yeah. And now to the, I might put the lie counter back up. Because I also created a lie counter. For, to watch, during speeches and that stuff on lies that are called, yeah. I mean, maybe. I think that's still debated. You have the ability to increase it. By just typing exclamation mark, lies. So, like, it's a S. I might, yeah, there you go. There you go. That. Because now we're going to watch Pete Hegseth's briefing this morning. Because I don't know, did you hear, I mean, I don't have the best opinions about, our Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. Did you hear what happened last night? Because this is going to be in response to that, and I guess that's actually... I'm not changing my... I'm still going to call it defense. I'm calling it defense until the day I am no longer breathing. I think it's silly to change it to that, and I think it shows a very different mindset of the military. And so I am doing it as a very individualist protest speech. Yes, President Trump did threaten to do that. Pakistan, Turkey, both were helping to be intermediaries with President Trump and Iran. Mediators. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. They were basically helping with that, and it was basically he called it off at 6:30 p.m. EST. It's very. Did you see the 10 points of that Iran wanted? That Trump had, I'm gonna say loosely agreed to, that it's like gonna get finished off. Basic. Let me see if I can. There's a 10 point. Let me see. Israel stalled. Okay, we're going to just see if there's another website that has it. We're going to. Okay. Some of them are repeating of each other, but there is lifting all primary and secondary sanctions on Iran. Please excuse me. I'm so sorry. Okay. Sorry. Continuing Iran control of the Strait of Hormuz, the U.S.'s military withdrawn from the Middle East, and an end of attacks on Iran and its allies, the release of Iran's frozen assets, and a UN Security Council resolution to make sure it's binding. Also part of that is there's rumors of it to beat that any U.S. Well, I'm not gonna say a ship that's going through the Strait of Hormuz has to pay 2 million U.S. currency, from my understanding. Yeah, the plan allows Iran and March to charge a fee up to 2 million a vessel if they go through the strait. Yeah. So basically, if everything is agreed on this list before they, if everything is on this list agreed on, because they're going to have this discussion on Friday, the Iran, well, they have not talked. This is the opening. Okay, this is like Iran's just like, okay, this is what we want ideally. They've not had the talks yet, and the talks start on Friday, so we'll see if this is going to keep. The other part of this is that U.S. might be but the funny thing is, it used to be like before the whole entire war / conflict, it was free. Well, not free, but like no toll. And so Iran technically just showed that they can use the Strait of Hormuz to pressure a world power. And at the same time, while all this is happening, for the first time ever, instead of an international trade, France paid Iran in yuan, showing that the Chinese currency is now gaining more power on the world stage, which is a very interesting sign to come. Well, yeah, no, the 2 million, up to 2 million per ship is to actually help rebuild their facility, well, the structures and that stuff, and help their, what U.S. did. That's what the 2 million's for, because they were going to ask for reparations or repairs, and they said 2 million per vessel instead of that, from my understanding. But yeah. So if this goes through, I don't know what's going to happen to the price of gas, because that's a very complicated thing. I don't know if it's going to go to the same point of height, because it's not an unease. It's going to be a stable price, but all the prices that increased, like from Amazon, USPS, and UPS, might stay high because as an excuse of this toll. So I think there might be a happy medium, as in it's going to increase a little bit, but not to the heights it was before, because it was at that height because people did not know what was going to happen, so the unpredictability of it. So yeah. Did all that make sense? Okay. And also helps if I switch to the screen. Cool. I was trying to be as concise as I could with that. Okay. This is like a pet peeve of mine, and I know this is a very small pet peeve. When you have the ability to do live filters, you have the ability to filter out them fidgeting. Why don't you do that? It's a very easy thing.
Iran has been a threat to the United States and the free world for 47 years. Chants of death to America, targeting our people, killing Americans, lying in black.
Yeah, it's not in the budget. And I'm very curious to see the impact this is going to have, because there's rumblings already within the GOP that they're talking about a big beautiful bill 2.0, and they want to increase the military budget a lot. I mean, Iran, US did kind of sort of did a coup on Iran. No. Okay, it's not. Okay, nope, let me word this more neutral. US helped replace Iran's leader during the 1970s. And it was a leader that was actually seen favorable to the Iranian population. Since then, it's been an uneasy area and that stuff. It's, which I understand. And US does like to get involved in the area a lot just because of non-renewable resources, especially oil. I'm not like saying I agree with them. I don't think I can say that on stream, so I'm going to try and avoid that word. But like, I understand why they would have such distaste for America.
Blackmailing their way toward a nuclear weapon, so they thought.
There's no proof of the. Hold on, let me see if I. The multiple reportings everywhere I've seen that talks about the amount of resources they have, of the materials to make those the weapon you're talking about. They didn't have them enough resources to make that. And there's multiple reportings from multiple sides, not even just from Iran itself, but other countries are allies as well. Even US's own reporting from like our.
No longer. Not on our watch. Other presidents marked time and kicked.
And also, this does not make sense as well because we backed away from a deal that was created in 2015 and 2017 that we could have literally watched how much product that Iran had in 2017, but it was backed out.
The can down the road. President Trump made history. From the
Well, actually, no, you're right. I'm actually wrong. He did make history. I just don't think in the manner you're talking. He did make history, though. You're correct.
Strike that took out Qasem Soleimani, to tearing up the disastrous Obama-Iran deal, to the precision campaign that obliterated Iran's nuclear sites in Operation Midnight
The funny
Hammer,
thing is the current deal that the 10 points that Iran just offered is actually like a worse deal for US overall. It's actually even more. It gives more to Iran. So if you want Iran to have less, that is actually not a good deal. So yeah. Wait, did I mute that again?
In Operation Epic Fury. No other president has shown the courage and resolve of this commander-in-chief. President Trump forged this moment. Iran begged for this ceasefire, and we all know it. As a President Truth this morning, a big day.
Please show that proof.
For world peace. Iran wants it to happen. They've had enough. Operation Epic Fury was a historic and overwhelming victory on the battlefield. A capital V military victory. By any measure, Epic Fury decimated Iran's military and rendered it combat ineffective for years to come. You see,
No, okay.
in less than 40 days, one of our combatant commands, Central Command, CENTCOM, using less than 10% of America's total combat power, dismantled one of the world's largest militaries. The world's leading state sponsor of terrorism proved utterly incapable of defending itself, its people, or its territory. We untied just a fraction of our strength, and Iran suffered a devastating military defeat. Together with our Israeli partners, America's military achieved every single objective, on plan, on schedule, exactly as laid out from day one. Iran's Navy is at the bottom of the sea, whether it's the Soleimani class, their frigate class, their prized drone aircraft carriers, submarines, mine layers, sunk. Iran's Air Force has been wiped out. Iran no longer has an air defense, any sort of a comprehensive air defense system. We own their skies. Their missile program is functionally destroyed. Launchers, production facilities, and existing stockpiles depleted and decimated. And almost completely ineffective. Iran shot hundreds and hundreds of missiles and one-way attack drones at our aircraft carrier. They were obsessed with it, and they never got even close. Every single one of those shots easily shot down miles and miles away from the Abe Lincoln. They were blowing ammo into Fantasyland. Contrast that with, most significantly, in last night's wave of more than 800 strikes, we finished completely destroying Iran's defense industrial base.
800 seems like a big number. That's... I don't... I think you might be talking...
A core pillar of our
I
mission.
don't know if I agree with, like... Are you sure that we, like, that was... that seems like a lot of effort for, like, how you were talking about, like, how it's easier, no problem. Very odd. Very odd.
What little they have left buried in bunkers is all they will have. They can still shoot, we know that. Their command and control is so decimated they can't really talk and coordinate, so they still may shoot here and there, but that would be very, very unwise. But they can no longer build missiles, build rockets, build launchers, or build UAVs. Their factories have been razed to the ground, set back in historic fashion. You see, had Iran refused our terms, the next targets would have been their power plants, their bridges, and oil and energy infrastructure.
What you're saying is breaking international law, and you would be getting rid of a whole entire civilization. I do not know why that's even on the table, because not every... I do not like Iran's government. I do not like religious theocracies. I do not like that. But they still have the right to be treated humanely. I didn't know if you were still there. And those were so cute. It's a doggy and a dinosaur.
Targets
I also did speed it up.
And could not realistically rebuild. It would have taken them decades, and we were locked and loaded. They couldn't defend against it. President Trump had the power to cripple Iran's entire economy in minutes, but he chose mercy. He spared those targets because Iran accepted the ceasefire under overwhelming pressure. The new Iranian regime understood that a deal was far better than the fate that awaited them. This new regime just happened to look at what happened to their predecessors. Their top leadership was systematically eliminated. The previous Iranian supreme leader, dead. The Supreme National Security Council secretary, dead. The Supreme Leader Office Advisor, dead. The Supreme Leader Military Office Chief, dead. The Defense Minister, no longer with us. The IRGC Commander, dead. The Armed Forces General Staff Commander, dead. The Intelligence Minister, dead. The IRGC Navy Commander, no longer here. The IRGC Intel Chief, dead. I skipped over a bunch, and I could go on and on and on, to include the new so-called new Supreme Leader wounded and disfigured. This new regime was out of options and out of time, so they cut a deal. They know this agreement means that they will never, ever possess a nuclear weapon. Under the terms, any nuclear material they should have will be removed. Any material, they should not have will be removed.
And there
right
we
now,
go.
The dust is deeply buried and watched 24/7 overhead. The president has been clear from the beginning there will be no Iranian nuclear weapons. Period. full stop. Other presidents said it. President Trump did it. Operation
Okay, and so I just started the first prediction. I've never done a prediction before, so yeah. I put a prediction is there going to be more than 20 lies. You can put a bet on it. But yeah.
Fury. Less than 6 weeks, clear mission, decisive action, overwhelming firepower, America first, a historic battlefield victory. For decades, Iran killed Americans with roadside bombs.
So Pika, if you want to get more points, this is a way you can get more points. And in case you want to throw more labubus at me.
In Iraq.
Because it's basically a wager system. What do you mean that? Yeah, so you, are you on phone or mobile? You do need to lock it in. So you will see as a bubble on top of your chat, the question, you tap it. And you say how much you want to wager it in. So you tap the question that will be above on the chat at the very top. Okay, you're getting a PC. Let me see if I have anything on actions. Oh, you see the bubble? Okay, that's good. That's good. Now you can put a wager on there. Okay.
Using cowardly proxies to do their dirty work while they hid safely in Tehran.
Oh, you're going
They struck our embassies with car bombs and attacked from the shadows, never daring to face us toe-to-toe. They thought they could bleed America with...
Also, by the way, you can actually increase the lies by just doing exclamation mark lies. Please do not abuse this power. Do not abuse it. You can cheat in this method. I know why very easily. Do not cheat. I have the ability to reset the lie counter to 0. I do have one command to do that. Okay. Okay, no, I will continue with Pete Hegseth after this ad break because I need to prevent pre-roll ads. Please use a if you have Turbo, you get no ads at all on anyone. If you use your Amazon Prime or subscribe to this channel, you will get no ads. That's complicated. I can give you more information off stream about how ad revenue works on Twitch. But yeah, and people who stick through can play words on stream. And thank you for everyone who does stick through the ads. Let's see if it plays automatically this time. With words on stream, I'll figure that out later. But yeah.
With impunity. Well, they just learned the hard way what happens when you try to fight us directly. And even when they got lucky, one time in 40 days, and down 2 of our pilots, they couldn't hold them. In a daring 14-hour rescue operation, 7 hours in daylight and 7 hours of night, both pilots were recovered safely. Not once, but twice. A daylight thunder run right up the middle of their country. Boots on the ground. A midnight raid right up the middle of their country. Boots on the ground. 0 American casualties. The Iranians humiliated and demoralized. We control their fate, not the other way around. That's why they came to the table. Iran's defeat is America's retribution for every American loss to Iranian terror, especially those brave troops killed by Iranian-made roadside bombs in Iraq that my generation knows so well, and for the suffering their regime has inflicted around the world.
Oh, and I like how there is now a dot by your name that for what you betted on. So it now says which one you predicted on.
We have a chance at real peace and a real deal. The War Department, for now, has done its part.
By your Twitch name, it will say you predicted one blue ball. So it actually says what your bet is now.
We stand ready in the background to
So I know
ensure
which
Iran
way you
upholds
betted.
every reasonable term. And as
You
everyone
too
knows,
many
nobody
badges.
makes a better deal than President Trump. To the warriors of epic fury, I say well done. You're the backbone of our country. Your skill, your bravery, and sheer guts and grit showed the world what America is all about. I'm proud of you. We're proud of you. President is proud of you. Job well done. But stay vigilant and stay ready. To the families of our fallen, your sacrifice was in service of a historic cause, and we will always remember your heroes, our heroes. We will continue to honor them. And to our Israeli allies, thank you for being a brave, capable, and willing ally on this battlefield. The rest of the world and the rest of our...
Currently, Israel right now is still bombing Lebanon. So, yeah. I don't know if it's a good ally who's going behind your back to basically break the deal you just pseudo-made yesterday.
Our so-called allies saw what real capabilities look like, they should take some notes. Our troops, our American warriors, deserve the credit for this day.
Does that count as
But
a
God
lie?
deserves all the glory. Tens of thousands of sorties, refuelings, and strikes carried out under the protection of divine providence. A massive effort with miraculous protection. Dude 44 Bravo spoke for all of us. God is good. The chairman will now provide an even deeper military detail on the historic success of Operation Epic Fury. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for being here. I want to start this morning by honoring the 13 members of our American Joint Force who were killed in action thus far during this operation. Their sacrifice and that of their families is deeply important to us, and we are grateful for each of them, and will continue to mourn their loss. Their names and their bravery will never be forgotten. On February 28th, the President of the United States ordered the Joint Force to execute Operation Epic Fury with the direction to accomplish three distinct military objectives: destroy Iran's ballistic missile and drone capabilities, destroy the Iranian Navy, and destroy their defense industrial base to ensure that Iran cannot reconstitute the ability to project power outside.
Why was that? Can I call that, like, why was that never stated? Like, I have 40 different statements. I'm not even exaggerating. I can pull them up all right now. About what's the reason why we went over there.
Their borders. Over the course of 38 days of major combat operation, the Joint Force achieved the military objectives as defined by the President. We welcome the ongoing ceasefire, and as the Secretary said, we hope that Iran chooses a lasting peace. But as Secretary Hegseth said, let us be clear, a ceasefire is a pause, and the Joint Force remains ready, if ordered or called upon, to resume combat operations with the same speed and precision as we've demonstrated over the last 38 days, and we hope that that is not the case. I want to congratulate and thank the leadership today at U.S. Central Command, including the Commander Admiral Brad Cooper, the Deputy Commander Lieutenant General Kevin Leahy, the Senior Enlisted Leader Fleet Master Chief Compton, and every one of the component commanders, senior enlisted leaders, and especially the staff down at U.S. Central Command, who does not get called out for any of the credit, but grinds 24/7 to help offer the options that we bring to the Secretary and the President. I also want to highlight the forces in the United States European Command under the command of Alexis Grinkowicz, who protected the western flank in support of CENTCOM. And I want to thank our partners across the intelligence community. Our ability to see and understand what an adversary is doing help us to be as decisive as we must be on the battlefield. And that includes DIA, NSA, NGA, the CIA, and the National Reconnaissance Office, and others. I want to thank the other combatant commands who have thus far contributed along the way to U.S. Central Command. This includes Transcom, Stratcom, Spacecom, SOCOM, and Cybercom, all of whom poured all in support of CENTCOM's efforts. And I want to thank, as the Secretary did, our Gulf partners who fought alongside each and every one of us every day. From the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, and Jordan, all who joined us together to defend and protect our people and our assets, and who, if required, stand ready to do so again.
And I want to thank my team at the Joint Staff who work literally around the clock in order to help me offer the options that I must with the associated risks to the Secretary and to the President. They are the hardest working people that I know, and I am deeply grateful for their service. Most importantly today, I want to thank America's members of the Joint Force who've poured everything that they can into Operation Epic Fury, and their families who've worked 24 hours a day for 38 days. The Secretary and I could not be more proud of each and every one of you. And we deeply appreciate the support of the American people who we know always have us in our thoughts and prayers, and we can feel this literally every single day. As the Secretary said, the United States has devastated the regime's ability to harm Americans and our interests for years to come. Since the beginning of major combat operations, the United States Joint Force has struck more than 13,000 targets, including in that 13,000 more than 4,000 dynamic targets that popped up on the battlefield and were immediately addressed, thanks to the exceptional command and control system and intelligence, acumen, and agility of our Joint Force. CENTCOM forces destroyed approximately 80% of Iran's air defense systems, striking more than 1,500 air defense targets, more than 450 ballistic missile storage facilities, 800 one-way attack drones storage facilities. All of these systems are gone. We've devastated Iran's command and control and logistical networks, destroying more than 2,000 command and control nodes and degrading their ability to target U.S. and friendly forces. It is, and we know this, incredibly frustrating right now to be a lower-level Iranian commander trying to fight your fight. As the Secretary said, the Iranian Navy now lies mostly at the bottom of the Arabian Gulf, and we assess that we've sunk more than 90% of their regular fleet, including all of the major surface combatants, as the Secretary said. 150 ships are at the bottom of the ocean, and half of the IRGC Navy's small attack boats. Joint fires protected from the land, sea, and air executed more than 700 strikes against naval mine targets, and we assess that we destroyed more than 95% of their naval mines. And perhaps most importantly, we've destroyed Iran's defense industrial base, their ability to reconstitute those capabilities for years to come. We attacked, along with our partners, approximately 90% of their weapons factories. Every factory that produced Shahed one-way attack drones was struck. Every factory that produces the guidance systems that go into those drones was struck. Their missile defense industrial base is shattered, with more than 80% of their missile facilities gone, as well as their solid rocket motor production capability. It will take years for Iran to rebuild any major surface combatants, as more than 20 naval production and fabrication facilities have been damaged or destroyed, and nearly 80% of Iran's nuclear industrial base was hit, further degrading their attempts to attain a nuclear weapon. Throughout Operation Epic Fury, our Joint Force struck at the heart of Iran's ability to project power and threaten the United States and the region. And in order to do this, it required the service and sacrifice of more than 50,000 American warfighters deployed across CENTCOM, EUCOM, and stateside.
Okay, technically one of those wasn't a lie, but I was doing a lie by implication that they already had they had enough facilities to make that, which they did not.
The Joint Force flew more than 10,000 missions, including 62 bomber missions, 18 of which flew round trip from the United States to deliver bombs on military targets. Each of these missions was more than 30 hours in duration, and we did that 18 times. No other military in the world can do that, and it's a testament to the logistical force that quietly serves behind them. I cannot thank TRANSCOM and the Air Force Tanker and Mobility Force more. Combined with Army and Navy joint fires, we struck more than 13,000 targets. And along with our Gulf partners, we've thus far intercepted 1,700 ballistic missiles and one-way attack drones, defending our forces and our partners in the civilian population. And we remain ready to do so should the need arise. Along the way, we consume more than 6 million meals, and by my estimate, more than 950,000 gallons of coffee, 2 million energy drinks, and a lot of nicotine, but I'm not saying that we have a problem. I've laid out the statistics, but it does not...
I don't... Okay, I'm not gonna be cynical. I'm not gonna respond to that because I'll just be cynical. And I'll, like, nope. And I also have no room to do that because I have a form of energy drink next to me called coffee. So I'm not gonna comment on that.
Truly capture the nature of combat. This is gritty and unforgiving business. It's chaotic, it's hot, it's dark, it's unpredictable, and there's always unknowns. And our people proudly walk...
Also, random factoid. This war/conflict has cost the U.S. taxpayers $2 billion per day. Random factoid.
Those unknowns and continue forward. And through it all, the Joint Force has demonstrated the unwavering resolve that the nation demands of us. We are a mission-focused force, and our objective always is to create the conditions for peace, and today we have, while be ready should that peace break, which we hope it is not. And we remain ready. Before I turn it back to the Secretary, I also want to quickly revisit the rescue of the Air Force fighter crew over the weekend. To give you an update, we've had, the Secretary and I have had the profound honor of speaking directly with many of the warfighters on that mission, from the downed crew that were picked up to those forces that went and got them. Hearing these stories firsthand has only deepened our appreciation for their tenacity, creativity, courage, and grit of the American Joint Force. This
didn't even... Celsius is an energy drink? I didn't know Costco had an energy drink. Also, I will try my best to get through this as quickly as possible because predictions do have time limits. And technically we have... yeah. Can I get some of that money for free college? I mean,
Is
yeah,
a
they
story
give free
that gets to the
college
very heart and
healthcare
soul
to
of who we
them
are as a
already.
joint force, who we are as Americans. Selfless sacrifice in service of others. From the backseater, Dude 44 Bravo, whose pure and unadulterated joy at seeing those helicopters come into the valley to get his front seater in daylight because he knew the front seater did not have a jacket and was so filled with heart-leaping joy at his front seater getting picked up. To the nighttime folks that went in and then got him, to the tanker forces that did the things that they had to do to give their own gas away to the support packages, to those that went into the desert landing site not once, not twice, but 3 times as we fought through multiple contingencies. This was and is a joint force that has the guts to try, that does not quit, and who each and every day does the things that we must to dare to win. No lives were lost. We succeeded because the joint force is always at the ready. They trust each other, they trust their leaders, and they trust their training. And they remember first, foremost, and always that we do these things so that others may live, and we will never leave anyone behind. The success of Operation Fury thus far, and we hope it remains, culminates with this incredible rescue over the weekend, a direct example of the professionalism and courage of the United States military and our joint force. It's the service members on the front lines, our partners in the region, our teammates in the intelligence community, our civilian leaders in the OSW side of the house, the American workers who build the tools and weapons that we use, and the American people who back us up that help us.
We're halfway through, and we don't have 10 lies counted. Are you getting worried, Pika? We only have 9 lies counted so far.
By what the joint force has been able to do. Their performance is fueled by a deep commitment to each other, their mission, and to our country. It is an incredible, deep honor for me to be a part of this joint force, and I'm humbled by the service and sacrifice each and every day that I am lucky enough to see. And finally, as I always do...
By the way, like, I was being serious, so you can do exclamation mark lies if you catch anything that I missed. Because I'll fully admit, I do not know.
I ask that we never forget our fallen and their families, especially those 13 fallen from Operation Epic Fury. May we always be worthy of their sacrifice and honor their...
But like this... Okay, I'm going to count those again. You said there was no lives lost, and then you said twice there was.
And with that, sir, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll take a few questions.
Alexander Ingersoll, One America News. First of all, thank you to our troops. What role is our military playing?
I have an obligation to... Okay, that's fair.
Escorting vessels through the Strait of Hormuz at this point. And the president said on Truth Social that the U.S. will be hanging around to make sure everything goes well. Obviously, Mr. Secretary, you just mentioned, we know the scars from hanging around in Iraq for decades. But what does that entail in terms of our military presence at this juncture?
Yeah, we'll be hanging around. We're not going anywhere. We're going to make sure Iran complies with the ceasefire and then ultimately comes to the table and makes a deal. So we'll stay put, stay ready, stay vigilant. As the chairman laid out, our troops are prepared to defend, prepared to go on offense, prepared to restart at a moment's notice with whatever target package would be needed in order to ensure that Iran complies. As far as the Strait, you saw the initial agreement that was struck, which is Iran's letting ships go through. So there'll be that will be happening. They will be sailing. And ultimately, as the president, we've done an incredible job militarily inside the Strait of Hormuz. What Admiral Cooper, I failed to mention Admiral Cooper's name. He's done a phenomenal job along with everybody at AFCENT and AFCENT and ARCENT and all the components down there, laying the groundwork for Iran. Iran doesn't have the same ability to defend it the way they did before. And so as the president has pointed out to the rest of the world, we barely get any of our energy out of the Strait, just a tiny fraction. It's time for the rest of the world to step up and ensure that that stays open after President Trump and the War Department brought Iran to the place where they're voluntarily opening it right now, as was announced last night. Yes, Jared.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you both.
I don't like the implication.
President Trump posted on Truth Social this morning that...
by the way, the implication is it wasn't open before when it was.
There's been a very productive regime change in Iran, and that there will be no enrichment of uranium, and the U.S. will work with Iran to dig up and remove the deeply buried nuclear dust. So I just have two questions here. So both you, Mr. Secretary, and the President have referred to a new regime in Iran. So is this not the regime that was at war with us for 47 years? And what do we think of when we're saying that this is a new regime? What are we thinking and what are we saying there? And then my second question is, with any future deal with Iran, is their handing over of all of their enriched uranium and they're promising not to enrich any future uranium a non-negotiable for the U.S.?
Well, it's always been non-negotiable that they won't have nuclear capabilities. And so right now it's buried and we're watching it. We know exactly what they have and they know that. And they will either give it to us, which the president...
By the way, I don't know why they're saying no to nuclear capabilities because it can also be like nuclear energy. Like, so like... I will not do that because they say nuclear capabilities, but like I know they're implying that there's only one thing you can do with the uranium when there is multiple things you can do.
You'll give it to us voluntarily, we'll get it, we'll take it out. Or if we have to do something else ourselves, like we did Midnight Hammer or something like that, we reserve that opportunity. But what's clear, what the new Iranian regime knows is they'll never have a nuclear weapon or the capability to get a path to one. As far as the new regime, you heard the list that I read. It's a new group of people who've seen the full capability of the United States military and has a new calculus.
That's not true. It's the son of the previous leader who has a more discontent and dislike for the United States, which is fair. Even though I don't... You can... Children might always like their flawed parents. And I would be, even if I had a flawed parent, I would still be upset if someone, well, okay, everyone has flawed parents, but like parents that I dislike, I would still be upset if someone did action so they would never have a chance to improve. So, yeah.
what it means to negotiate with us, hence why they came to the table, wanting a ceasefire and the shooting to stop. So this new regime, which the regime has been changed, has a different interaction with the U.S. Right here.
Mr. Secretary, thank you.
Of course. I was going in front right here.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary and General Kane. Mary Margaret with the Daily Wire. 2 questions. Iran has said that safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz will be possible in coordination with Iran's armed forces and, quote, technical limitations. What do you believe that means? And then we've also heard reports that Iran's continued striking targets well into this morning. At what point are we beyond a grace period? Are we giving them a grace period? Is there a miscommunication there? What's going on with that?
What we know is that Iran is going to say a lot of things. A lot of people are going to say a lot of things, claim a lot of things. What has been agreed to, what's been stated is the strait is open. Our military is watching. I'm sure their military is watching, but commerce will flow. And that's what you saw the markets react to, is that reality. As far as shooting, that we were monitoring it last night in real time. Of course we are. Iran would be wise to find a way to get the carrier pigeon to their troops out in remote locations to know not to shoot any longer. And one-way attacks are...
Okay, at least that's good news. I was actually, this is why I wanted to listen to this, because I wanted to see what is their interpretation of that, because Iran is still firing and that stuff, but like that's, from my understanding, might be warlords or complicated government system over there, like not efficient communications over there, so that might take a bit to respond.
missiles, because this takes time sometimes for ceasefires to take hold. We're watching it. We're prepared if necessary, but we hope and believe that it'll hold. Yes.
Thank you, Secretary.
Sorry. Thank you. Excuse me. Why are you so rude? Just wait. I'm calling on people.
Thank you, Secretary. Yesterday in the President's Truth Social, he threatened to wipe out a civilization. That statement elicited a huge response in America. If Iran did not come to the table and make a deal yesterday by the deadline, was the President really prepared to wipe out Iran entirely?
Like I said, we had a target set locked and loaded of infrastructure, bridges, power plants. Remember, this is a terror regime, military regime. Used all of these things for dual use to fund their military, to fund their terror campaigns. We had a lot of legitimate targets. They knew exactly the scope of what we were capable of. We hit some military targets on Karg, which is a bit of a signal. They can't defend it. And so Iran ultimately understood their ability, their future, to produce, to generate power, to fuel their terrorist regime was in our hands, was in President Trump's hands. That's why they came to the table. He ultimately said, we can take it all from you. Your ability to export energy will be taken away. And the United States military has the ability to strike those things with impunity. That type of threat is what brought them to the place where they effectively say, okay.
So the deal was always that, like, Iran's been very open about what their 10 points are, so that's always been around. And so it just looks like, for some reason, President Trump changed his mind at last minute. Some people can speculate that with, I don't know, let me see if I can go to Reuters and oil. Yeah, I'm just doing this. Is there a stock graph? I do have, let me see if there's, yes, that's fine. We're gonna see if there is a stock right here. I'm just looking very, very quickly. And we're going to go, oh, oil prices. There, go, click. Please give me image. Okay. So, like, literally, it was 112, 109, and it dropped down to 94.41 cents and 94.75 cents. That was a major impact on the oil. So some could speculate that if someone, that basically people could make predictions with some insider knowledge based off of information that they were not supposed to know before what is cited about the futures.
We want to cut this deal. This right here.
Good morning, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Chairman, David Zier, Real America's Voice.
No, there's great speculation of this, but I'm not going to point my fingers at anyone because I have no evidence to point.
During the ceasefire, what do we do when we see Iran rearming, regrouping, repositioning weapon systems and air defenses? And also, have we confirmed the specific model type of air defense or man-pads that took down our F-15, and is it still a threat for our patrols?
We're still working through the specific details around that particular shootdown. And the crews, when they normally return, go through a debriefing process along with the other members of that flight that were out there. And they'll go back, as they always do, and forensically look at what are the tactical lessons learned. Did we sense or see something? Could we have done something different? We do that, as I mentioned in a prior press conference, every single time we take any loss like that so that we become a quick learning organization. On the other part of your question around the movement of Iranian military forces, U.S. CENTCOM will continue to monitor that situation. They will continue to have a series of response options. And if need be, will come to the Secretary and to the President for guidance and be prepared to do the things that they're ordered to do so against valid military targets in accordance with the normal procedures that we have.
I would just note, it's a good question. The more Iran moves forces, the more they emplace forces, the more easily targetable they are for us right now. Remember, we're able to look, we're able to see, we're able to sense. We know where they. So if they try to preposition, they're just creating riper military targets.
Majority of Iran's war, the way they work is they basically do a bunch of things underground, so no, we would not be able to know it with 100% accuracy.
It's for us to strike should they make the wrong decision at the table. Right here.
Mr. Secretary, Lee Martinez of ABC News. First, a question to General Kane, sir. In your personal opinion, were the risks of the Strait of Hormuz being closed because of the conflict, were they mitigated early enough in part of the decision-making process to lead up to the decision to take action against Iran? And in your opinion, is Iran in control of the Strait of Hormuz? We just heard the Secretary say that Iran is letting them shift through, which would imply that potentially it's not just... the Secretary also said that the U.S., that the Strait is open. He did say that, sir. But in your opinion, sir, how can the U.S. ensure safe passage? Mr. Secretary, can you say today that the United States achieved, the administration achieved the military goals that you've constantly delineated? But strategically, is that a victory because of that? And also, you said earlier that the president chose mercy. But you yourself had said 3 weeks ago that we will give a quarter to Iranian troops. How do you correlate those two? And do you think that your comments may put American troops at risk?
No. I try to be nice up here, but you did listen to what I said, right? I laid out the objectives. We believe we've accomplished them, and it's a historic military victory. And President Trump has the option as the commander-in-chief to compel an adversary to the table, which is precisely what he did. And at the end, he chose to say, no, I'd rather talk to you at the table than obliterate your capability to export oil and fund your terror regime. So he did make that choice. That was his choice. He was a president of peace, and he's been willing to make those really tough calls that the American people elected him to do. Nothing we've done, not a single thing we've done. It's a typical, of course, it's ABC.
Oh, okay.
Not a single thing we've done has put an American troop in more of a harm's way. We've only set our troops up to harm Iranian military capabilities, which they've done to devastating fashion and to great success. Mr. Chairman, you had
There's a lot in that question. I'd love to take that offline and answer it, but I'm struggling to find exactly what your question was, and that's probably me, not you. Okay, all right. Sorry about that.
Mr. Chairman, it was an indictment framed as a question, so you're forgiven for not understanding. Go ahead, please.
That's okay.
No, you've had the chance. Go ahead.
Thank you very much.
I believe so, based on the diplomatic negotiations. I believe so.
It is
I believe
nice
so.
to see you.
Sorry.
Mr. Kodor Rahim Rashidi from Kurdistan. I'm representative Kurdistan TV and Kurdistan 24 today.
This is just more me remarking that last conversation. Our Secretary of Defense, I'm going to keep calling him that, less decorum than our... I have to double check to see if he's at the negotiation tables, because, like, to throw those accusations and not even try to... You are increasing the hostility of a conversation when you engage in that manner. I don't... Why have an adversarial relationship with reporters? That was no need for it to have it be that harsh.
I have asked 2 questions. Mr. Secretary, will your forces stay in the region and continue to defend and protect your allies and take the responsibility for their security? Second question is, as you mentioned many times, that you have full control of Iran airspace. Do you still have this control or not?
Well, thank you for the question. The chairman mentioned the UAE and Bahrain and Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, who have fought shoulder to shoulder with us, especially in defense of our facilities, of our people, of their facilities, and we appreciate that. So that coordination, of course, will continue. And then when it comes to the skies over Iran, I would point to Exhibit A and Exhibit B, 7 hours in the day, 7 hours at night. If any foreign adversary attempted to do the same over our soil, they would have no ability to do so. Will they have a system here or there? Maybe. Do they have a network, a system that's capable of defending their skies? No, they don't. It's, as the chairman laid out, that's been dismantled, degraded, and destroyed. So.
Whoopsie, we're going to restore that. And I'm No, I'm just laughing at like the search like response to it, which just stated the age of it, like being 20 years old. And yeah, okay. There is going to be an ad shortly. I'm just double checking because I want to be fair. Because if I'm not, because since the points are so close, I think it'd be unfair for me to not at least double check this. So I want to double check. Okay, so that is a lie. It is degraded, but it's not 100% gone.
It's a slight distinction, but an important one. Yes, right here. Go ahead.
General George in the middle of a war.
Excuse me. You got a question? Go ahead. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Two questions actually for you. So during this time, is the president still? Are you still encouraging civilians to rise up against the regime, or are they satisfied with this new regime change, or is this two-week period to kind of see where that leads? Also, talked about the enriched uranium going in there.
My eyes are opening because this might be it, depending on how they respond. Because I know the correct response to it. I do.
Would that require special forces or other military, our service members? Who would be basically going in there and trusted to going in there to get that uranium out?
Mm-hmm. Again, on the uranium, we're watching it. We know what they have, and they will give it up, and we'll get it, and we'll take it. If we have to, we can do it in any means necessary. So that's something the president is going to solve for. We already have Midnight Hammer with the place we put them in. And the reason it's in the situation where it is. The second one was about the people. Listen, I would love to see the Iranian people take advantage of this opportunity. They have been oppressed by the previous regime. They'll have a new opportunity with this regime that remains to be. We'll take where it is with the place we put them in, and the reason it's in the situation where it is. The second one was about the people. Listen, I would love to see the Iranian people take advantage of this opportunity. They have been oppressed by the previous regime, and they'll have a new opportunity with this regime that remains to be seen. That was not our objective in this effort, but they're brave people. Horrible things have been done to them by the previous regime, tens of thousands targeted and killed and assassinated in a way the government never should, and we wish them the best, absolutely. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
I will be nice, and I will say yes. Complete production. And I don't know if... Okay. Moving on to the next segment. The next thing to do on the to-do list is Caroline Levitt's video, and I believe I got the link for that as well. Also, depending on how that long takes tomorrow, my goal is not to report on anything about Iran, since I already spent 2 of my 3 days streaming talking about it, to also give a break. There we go. We're going to see if this also has like... Oh, this is going to be a half an hour long, so maybe we can have... We're going to watch it. There we go.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good to see all of you here today. Before I discuss the ceasefire with Iran, I have a quick update from the First Lady of the United States. Yesterday marked the very first conviction under the Take It Down Act, landmark legislation that First Lady Melania Trump played an instrumental role in getting passed that protects victims from non-consensual AI-generated sexually explicit images, cyber stalking, and threats of violence. This is a huge achievement for the First Lady, and I know the President is very proud of his wife's efforts in getting this critical legislation.
Actually, from what it sounds like right now, that actually sounds amazing, and I'm very happy that piece of legislation came out. So no, I'm not. I think that was a good piece of legislation. Oh wait, whoopsie! I meant to do lights reset. No, I did the opposite direction. There we go.
And passed to protect America's youth. So we thank the First Lady for her efforts, and we hope that others will report on this historic conviction yesterday. With respect to the 2-week ceasefire announced by President Trump last night, this is a victory for the United States of America that the President and our incredible military made happen. From the very beginning of Operation Epic Fury, President Trump stated this would be a 4 to 6 week military operation to dismantle the military threat posed by the radical Islamic Iranian regime. Thanks to the unbelievable capabilities of America's war fighters, the United States has achieved and exceeded those core military objectives in just 38 days. The U.S. military destroyed Iran's defense industrial base, crushing the regime's ability to manufacture weapons that they and their proxies use to maim and kill Americans and terrorize the world. Iran's ability to build and stockpile ballistic missiles and long-range drones has also been set back by years compared to where it was 6 weeks ago prior to the launch of Operation Epic Fury.
I should have waited.
We destroyed the vast majority of Iran's ballistic missiles, launcher vehicles, and long-range attack drones through more than 450 strikes on ballistic missiles and approximately 800 strikes on Iran's drone launching units and storage facilities. In total, more than 13,000 targets across Iran were struck. Again, this is in the matter of just 38 days. Meanwhile, the Iranian Navy was completely annihilated. The United States destroyed more than 150.
I will say that I do, this is a compliment. I do actually like the manner that she is, her enunciation of words and that stuff. Very clear, and I don't actually have to speed it up. It's actually good, even pacing in it. I'm speeding it up just because I'm live streaming. But otherwise, like, my problem with President Trump and Pete Hegseth, like, even though both of them have TV charisma, I do not like the pacing of the words. To me, it's too slow, so I actually do like her pacing better. That doesn't mean that, like, but yeah.
Naval vessels in total, including 16 entire classes of Iranian warships. Despite once being the largest undersea force in the Middle East, Iran now has 0 submarine vessels. 97% of Iran's once massive inventory of more than 5,000 naval mines has also been targeted and destroyed. Iran's air forces are functionally and operationally irrelevant at this point, after the United States maintained total air dominance over their country for weeks on end. To underscore the significance of this, before Operation Epic Fury, the Iranian Air Force would fly between 30 to 100 flights per day. Today, that number is 0. Iran's ability to fund and support its terrorist proxies has been greatly reduced. At this point, Iran can no longer distribute weapons to its proxies in the region. And most importantly, Iran will not be able to acquire nuclear weapons. Prior to the start of this successful operation, Iran was aggressively expanding.
Also, I don't like the absolutes this administration's doing. You can say the foreseeable future, and that would be a fair statement, but I do not like the word, like, the absolute. Because the only way to make this absolute is like the US does this every single couple of years, which I think that would be an overreach with the US's military force.
Its short-range ballistic missile arsenal. Through these weapons and its navy, Iran was attempting to build a military buildup around their country that would pose an imminent and existential threat to the United States military assets in the Middle East, our allies in the region, and ultimately the free world. Iran was pursuing this dangerous and aggressive strategy for one reason: to hold the entire world hostage to its terrorist ambitions. The Iranians aim to use their expanded military capabilities as a shield around their country to continue achieving their ultimate goal internally, building nuclear bombs. But their murderous and evil plans have been blown up, quite literally and figuratively, along with...
I am going to... No, please do not call a group of, like, a whole entire group, a nationality evil. Like, you can disagree with, like, I disagree with their government and regime. I think I do not like dictatorships. I do not like religious theocracies. I think they're oppressive. I do not think they give people the freedom to speak. But calling a whole entire group of people, when a lot of those people didn't have the choice of where they're, well, no one had the choice of where they're born. But a lot of those people were born there, so they didn't have a choice in it. So I dislike using the word evil for them.
Their military, their nuclear program, and most of their senior leadership, including the former Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Their command and control structures were also massively disrupted after being struck more than 2,000 times. Many of their remaining leaders are paralyzed in fear and no longer enjoy the freedom to move around their country freely and meet openly. Thanks to the unmatched excellence of our warriors at the direction of the Commander-in-Chief, the world has just witnessed a historically swift and successful military triumph. President Trump started Operation Epic Fury with strategic military objectives, and the United States has clearly achieved them. As we mark this progress, we also remember and honor the 13 American heroes who laid down their lives in this noble effort. I know President Trump and our grateful nation honors their ultimate sacrifice, and we will never forget them. May God bless their families. The valiant efforts of all of our incredible service members created maximum leverage for the President of the United States, allowing he and his leadership team to engage in tough negotiations over the past couple of weeks that have now created an opening for a diplomatic solution and long-term peace in the Middle East. The President's maximum pressure and the leverage created by the success of Operation Epic Fury led to the Iranian regime asking for and ultimately agreeing to a ceasefire proposal with the United States. Iran could no longer tolerate being bombed or taking the gamble of what was to come following President Trump's 8 p.m. deadline last night. Iran has agreed to open the Strait of Hormuz, and as the President said, we have received a proposal from the Iranians that has been determined to be a workable basis on which to negotiate. I've seen a lot of inaccurate coverage today from the media about these negotiations and these plans already, so let me be clear and correct the record. The Iranians originally put forward a 10-point plan that was fundamentally unserious, unacceptable, and completely discarded. It was literally thrown in the garbage by President Trump and his negotiating team.
But you said it had a workable basis. It can't be a workable basis. That you said, like, yourself, that Iran had a workable basis of an agreement. But then you just said you threw it in the garbage. Both those statements cannot be true. That is literally a disagreement you have. That is literally... Your previous statement defeats your previous statement. There is no... Part of me wants to say just lie better. But ideally you wouldn't lie, like maybe lies by omission, because I understand military force. And you have to keep things under the down low of exact moves. But like, just we say that it was a workable basis and we understand the spirit of it, or we understand that we now clearly understand their key negotiation tactics. We have enough information from our side that have good, we can use their as a basis of knowledge. And we can, let me be more concise. We can use Iranians' 10 points as the basis of knowledge and understand what points are most important for them. A lot of those points will be changing in the future. But the first step was actually just even agreeing to get to talking to the table. That would still be all, from my understanding, truthful. But like, you didn't have to lie, even with your own statement. Okay. And also, yes, I'm including that as a lie.
Outlets in this room have falsely reported on that plan as being acceptable to the United States, and that is false. With the President's deadline fast approaching and the United States military completely decimating Iran with each passing hour, the regime acknowledged reality to the negotiating team. They put forward a more reasonable and entirely different and condensed plan to the President and his team. President Trump and the team determined the new modified plan was a workable basis on which to negotiate and to align it with our own 15-point proposal. The President's red lines, namely...
Also, by the way, the only reason I'm skeptical of this is because of when the mediators, Pakistan, who actually showed those 10 points and was actually, like, it would be very interesting that Pakistan did not make a statement on it when Pakistan's would have been the more transparent people. So I'm not saying it's not unrealistic, but like, I'm hesitant. I'm not going to include that as a lie because that's just more of doubt. I strongly doubt that.
The end of Iranian enrichment in Iran have not changed, and the idea that President Trump would ever accept an Iranian wish list as a deal is completely absurd. The President will only make a deal that serves in the best interests of the United States of America, and he as a negotiating team will focus on this effort over the next 2 weeks, so long as the Strait of Hormuz remains open with no limitations or delays. These extraordinarily sensitive and complex negotiations will take place behind closed doors over the course of the next 2 weeks. I would strongly advise the media against running with narratives that have no basis in fact. What Iran says publicly or feeds to all of you in the press is much different than what they communicate to the United States, the president, and his team privately. Never underestimate President Trump's ability to successfully advance America's interests and broker peace. President Trump has a proven track record of achieving good deals on behalf of the United States and the American people, and he will only accept one.
This deal is literally worse than the deal that Trump broke in 2017. This is literally a worse plan. And like I'm saying that maybe he just did like I'm not I understand this is not the final deal, so a lot of it will change. But like Trump's also broken good deals. And so if this deal, like whatever future deal, even if some of the things come true, they're still give Iranian a better spot they were than with the previous deal occurring in 2015. So yeah.
That puts America first. With that, I will take your questions today. I'm sure you have a lot of them. In our new media seat, we have Shane Harris with the AMAC Newsline. Shane, thank you for being here. Why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Caroline. Two questions for you. First, following the president's announcement of the ceasefire, if this is indeed the end of hostilities in Iran, what is the president's message to the American people about what was achieved for our country through Operation Epic Fury?
Sure. I think I just laid out a significant portion of that in my opening remarks. 6 weeks ago, the president looked the American people in the eye directly, and he told them that he launched this operation to take out the imminent threat that was posed by Iran. And that threat has
There's no imminent threats.
Now been greatly destroyed. Their navy, their missiles, their defense industrial base, and their desire and their plan to build a nuclear bomb inside their country is no longer going to be allowed, can no longer happen, thanks to the remarkable success of Operation Epic Fury over the course of the last 38 days. That has been absolutely achieved, and now we're moving into the next phase of this, which is a negotiating period to put some fine points on this and to hopefully broker an agreement that can achieve long-term peace in the Middle East.
Yeah, and then second, what is the president's message to American seniors who have a much higher voter participation rate and they're likely to be a key swing vote in the midterm elections?
Well, the president loves our seniors across the country, and as you know, the president signed the One Big Beautiful Bill, the Working Families Tax Cut last year, which greatly reduced taxes on Social Security for our seniors. In fact, thanks to the Working Families Tax Cut, nearly 90% of seniors will no longer pay tax.
For a time. That's a short time period. And it's going to increase after we get a new president.
On their Social Security. That's a huge win for our seniors and also for our middle class.
Also, sorry for singing. My singing is terrible.
And working families across the country with the no tax on tips provision and the no tax on overtime. Next week is tax week. You'll hear a lot from the president about how his policies have benefited the American people, and I'm proud to report that the president will be traveling next week to the great states of Nevada and Arizona to tout this historic accomplishment over the course of the next week. Thank you for being here, Shane. Gabe.
Thank you, Caroline. Iranian state media is saying that Iran has now closed off the Strait of Hormuz today in response to Israeli attacks on Lebanon. What's the White House response to that? And you just listed many military successes. I understand that. But strategically, how is the administration arguing that Iran does not have more economic leverage than it did before the start of the war?
Sure. Well, with respect to the first reporting out of Iranian state media, the president was made aware of those reports before I came to the podium. That is completely unacceptable. And again, this is a case of what they're saying publicly is different privately. We have seen an uptick of traffic in the Strait today, and I will reiterate the president's expectation and demand that the Strait of Hormuz is reopened immediately, quickly, and safely. That is his expectation, and it has been relayed to him privately that is what's taking place, and these reports publicly are false.
Caroline, the president yesterday threatened that a whole civilization would die if a ceasefire deal wasn't reached, understanding that Iranian leaders have previously said death to America. But why is it appropriate for the president of the United States to use that kind of language when talking about civilian targets? And was the president mocking Islam by signing off his True Social post over the weekend, praise be to Allah? Wouldn't that antagonize Muslim allies across the world?
Well, I understand the questions about the president's rhetoric, but what the president cares most about is results. And in fact, his very tough rhetoric and his tough negotiating style is what has led to the result that you are all witnessing today. Iran publicly acknowledging last night that they have agreed or that they wanted this ceasefire with the United States because they no longer could tolerate being bombed by our very powerful and lethal military, and that they have committed to the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, which the president will hold them accountable for, and it's something the administration is closely monitoring in real time. Danny.
Should the world not take his word seriously?
The world should take his word very seriously in understanding that the president is always most interested in results. And it was the Iranians who backed down, not President Trump. He said that they would face very grave consequences, as you just laid out, by the...
What's the Shakespeare saying? I think she protests too much. You keep repeatedly saying that Trump is not the one who backed down, but no one has made that accusation. So you becoming defensory from... I guess maybe you can say it was implied. I will say that. But it's very interesting that you... I would just not acknowledge it. Be like, yeah, no, Iran came to the table first. I wouldn't even let... Because it makes you... The implication then is, why are you getting defensory for Trump if he didn't do anything wrong? It's just President Trump.
8 p.m. deadline if they did not agree to reopening the Strait of Hormuz. And what did they do last night? They agreed to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Danny.
Thanks, Gareth. Would President Trump like to see Lebanon included in this peace deal? As you know, there have been increased Israeli strikes on Lebanon today with dozens of casualties there.
Sure. Lebanon is not part of the ceasefire. That has been relayed to all parties involved in the ceasefire. As you know, Prime Minister Netanyahu put out a statement last night in support of the ceasefire, in support of the United States' efforts, and he's also assured the president they'll continue to be a helpful partner throughout the course of the next 2 weeks.
Is there any thought, though, that the president might like to see Lebanon included in a future date, given that it seems to be causing or potentially undermining the Iran ceasefire?
Again, this will continue to be discussed, I am sure, between the president and Prime Minister Netanyahu, the United States, and Israel, and all of the parties involved. But at this point in time, they're not included in the ceasefire deal. Jeff.
Caroline, will the U.S. take part in talks with Iran in Islamabad on Friday?
I can announce that the president is dispatching his negotiating team, led by the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, Special Envoy Witkoff, and Mr. Kushner, to Islamabad for talks this weekend. The first round of those talks will take place on Saturday morning local time, and we know we look forward to those in-person meetings.
What role does the president see for the U.S. in monitoring or helping with the Strait of Hormuz going forward?
I think the president commented on that this morning. We're going to continue to monitor it very, very closely. We will be helpful in any way that we can, but we fully expect Iran to do this, and the president has made that quite clear as well. It's, again, as his statement said last night, the ceasefire is subject to the safe reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. Again, this was just determined last night. We understand things take time, but that's the president's expectation, and he will hold everyone to it.
That's annoying. Okay. But like...
Sure, in the green blazer.
Thank you, Caroline.
Sure. And then in front of you. But Andrew, you can go ahead.
All right.
You're not wearing a green blazer.
I am actually wearing a green blazer.
It's a little brown to me, but go ahead.
Fair enough. Regarding the president's rhetoric, when the U.S. invaded Iraq in 2003, George W. Bush said in a message to the Iraqi people that the military campaign was directed, quote, against the lawless men who rule your country and not against you. Yesterday, the president threatened to destroy Iran's civilization, the entire civilization. Not the Iranian government, but the Iranian civilization, the Iranian people. The U.S. has been a moral leader for most of its history by fighting wars against other governments, not against civilizations. How can the president claim that America can ever have the moral high ground if he's threatening to destroy civilizations and not casting wars as fights against other governments?
Andrew, I think you should take a look at the actions of this president over the course of the past 6 weeks and the actions of our brave men and women in our United States military who have taken out essentially taken out the military of a rogue Islamic regime that has changed.
You're not acknowledging. You're not answering a question. You're answering a question inside your own mind, which I don't know what that is. But you're ignoring their question.
Death to America for 47 years that has killed and maimed thousands of American soldiers over the course of the last 5 decades.
You're putting the opus on them when they were not the aggressors in the situation. I'm not saying they're a good group. Like, I'm not saying Iran's government's good. But why are they the blame? Why are you making them take the blame in this scenario? Why is the president of the United States not taking blame for some of his statements? I'm not saying that, like...
The president absolutely has the moral high ground over the Iranian terrorist regime, and for you to even suggest otherwise is frankly insulting.
With all due respect, Caroline, with all due respect, there is...
Just given what we've seen in Lebanon today and the increased attacks from Israel, I mean, is there any concern that Netanyahu is trying to kill the ceasefire?
The president spoke with Prime Minister Netanyahu last night. In that private conversation, Prime Minister Netanyahu relayed exactly what he said to the world publicly, that he supports the president and Israel remains a key ally and partner to the United States. They've been a tremendous partner over the course of the past 6 weeks, and we thank them for their heroic efforts as well. And the president had that conversation last night, and that was relayed to the world publicly as well. Reagan, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. I have a question for you on Iran, and I have a question on the Dignity Act as well. On Iran, it's been reported that the ceasefire was struck after the involvement of 2 unlikely factors, J.D. Vance and China. What role did those parties play in striking a deal?
Oh, that's right. I forgot to mention that it was implied that since China is a very big trade partner with Iran, since China gets a large part, I want to say 17 to 20% of their oil from Iran, that China was highly encouraging Iran to have a ceasefire. And then J.D. Vance from Hungary, I'm gonna say Hungary, had to basically be on the phone for overnight to help deal with ceasefire talks.
Well, Vice President Vance has played a very significant and a key role in this since the very beginning. Of course, he's the president's right-hand man. He is the Vice President of the United States. He's been involved in all of these discussions, and as I just announced, he'll be leading this new phase of negotiations in Islamabad later this week. With respect to China, there were conversations that took place between top levels of our government and China's government. The president has great respect for President Xi and a great working relationship with him and with that country, and he looks forward to visiting China in just a few weeks.
And on the Dignity Act, it's getting a fresh push through Congress. It would give some illegal immigrants in the country a path to citizenship. What's the White House's position on this legislation, and would the president sign it if it made it to his desk?
Honestly, Reagan, I haven't spoken to the president about the legislation, but I will have that conversation, and we'll get you our formal position on it as soon as we can. You're welcome. Go ahead.
I did speed it up because we do have an ad
Does the president believe that the U.S. should earn revenue from the Strait of Hormuz going forward?
It's an idea the president has floated, as you know, and it's something that will continue to be discussed over the course of the next few weeks. But the immediate priority of the president is the reopening of the strait without any limitations, whether in the form of tolls or otherwise.
On highly enriched uranium, has Iran given the administration any indication that it would simply turn over the enriched uranium, or is this an expectation the president has that he would have to send in ground troops in order to do that?
This is on the top of the priority list for the president and his negotiating team as they head into this next round of discussions. And as I said in my opener, that is a red line that the president is not going to back away from, and he's committed to ensuring that takes place. We hope it will be through diplomacy.
Have they given any indication that they would turn it over?
They have. Yes. Trevor.
The latest news out of Iran is that the air defenses have been activated in several cities, including Isfahan, and explosions have been heard in Isfahan. Who is bombing Iran right now?
Were those reports just as of a few minutes ago? Yeah. Okay, so obviously I'll have to go back and check with the national security team. I'm standing up here with all of you, but I will do that and we will get you an answer, okay?
The civilization question I've been talking about.
And I would just add to that point, again, I haven't seen these reports, I'm not verifying them. Not that I don't trust you, Trevor, but I want to go back and check with the experts here at the White House. I would just say, and I would echo what the Vice President said this morning, this is a fragile truce. Ceasefires are fragile by nature. We've seen this with respect to the 12-day war with Iran and Israel last year. It takes time sometimes for these ceasefires to be fully effectuated. And one of the results of Operation Epic Fury was we completely dismantled Iran's command and control center, which makes it difficult for them to pass messages up and down the chain. And so we understand that. I would caution a little bit of patience, but of course we want to see the ceasefire effectuated and abided by all parties as quickly as possible.
Well, at least they're giving him grace.
Ronald Reagan have said this formulation about nuclear war, that a nuclear war cannot be won and must never be fought. Is that still the view of this administration, given the president's comments about civilization?
I have no change in our view on that policy. Katie.
I'm just given the gravity.
By the way, I will fully admit I do think that they should at least give him grace because I do 100% think U.S. is the aggressor in this situation. So I'm just happy that they are able to give them good graces in that
What's your
regard.
understanding of what he meant when he said this civilization is going to be eliminated?
I think it was a very, very strong threat from the President of the United States that led the Iranian regime to cave to their knees and ask for a ceasefire and agree to reopening the Strait of Hormuz. So it was a very strong threat that led to results. And as the Secretary of War stated at the Pentagon this morning, it was not an empty threat by any means. The Pentagon had a target list that they were ready to hit go on at 8 p.m. last night if the Iranian regime had not agreed to open the strait, which they did. And I think that's something we should all be grateful for.
The United States is a moral leader in the world, given that
I was asked this exact same question by your colleague Andrew in the back, and I think again the insinuation by anyone in this room that Iran somehow has the moral high ground over the United States of America is insulting, considering the atrocities that they have committed against our people and our military over the past 5 decades.
Both things can be true. Iran, the government / the military, could have done terrible, awful things to the United States, but that does not mean that U.S. has the right to respond in that manner. U.S. they have more power, so they are held to a higher standard. I mean, by power is larger country, larger infrastructure, larger military, as in like assets and that stuff. So you hold U.S. one to a higher regard than Iran because and I believe, from my understanding, U.S. is a more stabilized country just because of the lucky spawn spot of United States. But it's no matter what the person says, as a leader of one of the biggest military powers in the world, to use that threat of what would not even joke about that as a leader. If any other nation did it, China, Russia, North Korea, anyone with capabilities of nukes threatened to do that, I think U.S. would be one of the first people who condemn it. It's not a joke, and you do not make those threats idly. And that would be an international war crime.
John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. Two questions for you. One has to do with the joint statement put out this morning by some of America's European allies, our NATO allies. And in that joint statement, they said regarding the Strait of Hormuz, our governments will contribute to ensuring freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz. What's the administration's reaction to that joint statement? Does that smooth things over when the president meets with NATO Secretary General a little bit later this afternoon?
I have a direct quote from the President of the United States on NATO, and I will share it with all of you. They were tested, and they failed. And I would add, it's quite sad that NATO turned their backs on the American people over the course of the last 6 weeks when it's the American people who have been defunding their defense. As you know, President Trump will be meeting with Secretary Ruta in a couple of hours here at the White House, and I know.
Yes, it's based off the population. NATO tries. There is problems with NATO, but the funding from it's because U.S. has a bigger population than the rest, so we are expected to, since we have more revenue, we are supposed to do that. And since we are one of the largest military powers in the world.
He looks forward to having a very frank and candid conversation with him.
And then secondly, in regards to this conflict, 38 days, as you pointed out, President Trump has said that there's been regime change. Has that regime change led to more freedoms for the Iranian people?
I think that's a question that's being asked a little bit too early, John, and we hope that is the case, but it's something that has yet to be seen. Eamon.
Caroline, this question about tolling by the Iranians in the Strait of Hormuz. I've heard you talk about a number of red lines the president has in this negotiation, but I haven't heard you say that Iranian tolling in the Strait of Hormuz is a red line. Would it be acceptable to the United States at the end of all this if the Iranians are able to charge tolls in the Strait of Hormuz?
I think the president was very clear and simplistic in his language last night in his Truth Social post, where he said that this ceasefire is subject to the free, safe, and immediate reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. That's very plain language, and it should be taken at face value. Carrie, go ahead. Without limitation. Carrie.
The Strait of Hormuz, that's something that we've opposed for a number of years now.
Again, that's not something we've said that we've definitively accepted. The joint venture is something that was proposed by the president, but he was very clear in his statement last night. He wants to see the strait reopened immediately without limitation, and that's something we're going to hold him to.
Second question on family and friends in Iran. I myself am Iranian, and I've been talking to them through the blackout. One of my family members yesterday said goodbye to me. So what message should we be sending Iranians when they message me saying, what should they be doing right now? How should they stay safe? Because they really don't know what to do.
I think the president's main priority, and my main priority as his spokeswoman, is to make sure that clear messages are sent to the American people, of course, which is my job today. With respect to the Iranian people, the president, has taken out the imminent threat that was posed by their military to the United States, to our allies in the region, to our forces in the region, and of course, as the president has long said, he hopes that Iran will be a country of peace, of prosperity, and we're moving into this next round of negotiations to hopefully come.
I as a reporter, I might just walk out during the middle of that. That statement is ludicrous in so many regards. Because my brain is, you are just saying we care about the American people only. We don't care about the Iranian people. I can put that much more harshly in my mind what it is right now. I'm smiling because I am so angry. My response to anger is very weird. But I think that I think all human life is precious. Even if I don't agree with your ideas, I think human life is still precious. And for the President of the United States not to even I understand, okay, you do not like the military from Iran, you do not like the government, and I understand using military force because they have the ability to defend themselves, while civilians don't. They literally did nothing besides have bad luck in spawning slash aka being born in that spot. So the statement is concluding of, I'm sorry that you had bad luck being born there, but we care about Americans first. We don't care.
To an agreement with this new regime that will create long-term stability in the Middle East.
He said that they should stay inside of their homes and also take back their country. So there's a contradiction there. So how do you address that?
Again, we're moving into this next round of negotiations with the remnants of the regime and those that we are speaking with now to hopefully reach a place of peace long-term for the region, and that includes the Iranian people as well. In the blue, go ahead.
Thank you. The White House posted a statement from the Iranian government that passage in the Strait will be coordinated with Iran's armed forces. As of today, who controls the Strait of Hormuz?
Again, these statements were put out 12 hours ago. We expect that the Strait will be opened immediately. As I said earlier, we have seen an uptick in traffic in the Strait, and it's something that we are monitoring minute by minute, hour by hour as the days go on.
Who controls the Strait right now?
One on the deportations of Iranian officials, and then on the negotiations. Are there still security concerns about Vice President Vance being part of these talks, Steve Woodcock, Jared Kushner? And then two, given the ongoing deportation of General Soleimani's niece, does the Trump administration plan to deport more relatives or people in the families of Iranian officials there in the U.S.?
Certainly, anyone who is here fraudulently. I understand one of the individuals who their visa was revoked by Secretary Rubio and they were deported by ICE. They had a fraudulent asylum claim. That's against the laws of the United States. So anyone who is here illegally or fraudulently is subject to our nation's immigration laws and will be removed from our country. And I know this continues to be a top priority for the State Department, working in conjunction with the Department of Homeland Security. With respect to the safety of the Vice President, we fully trust the United States Secret Service to do their job to keep the Vice President and the President's negotiating team safe. They do a tremendous job, and we fully trust them to do that. In the back, go ahead.
A part of me wants to know, why is the Vice President in Hungary right now during the Hungary's election? Why is the United States Vice President supporting? For accusations, I would have to double. Or it looks like Hungary's leader might have dictatorial actions. Kind of odd.
The president said Cuba is next. What's the message to the American people regarding Cuba, and what can Cubans expect in relation to the statement?
Well, look, I think when President Trump said that, and he later clarified after making that statement, that he meant the Cuban regime is bound to fall. Their country is very weak. They're in a very weak position economically, obviously, financially.
Well, that's because U.S. put blockades on them for like 60 years. So yeah. And the U.S. has been going behind the bags to make sure no other country works with them, and the U.S. has enough power to do that. So yeah,
the
of
Cuban
course
people
they'd be
are
weak.
fed up with their government, as they should be. And these talks and discussions continue to happen at the highest level of our government. I don't have any updates or announcements for you with respect to Cuba policy today.
Thank you, Caroline. Secretary Hexteth said this morning that U.S. troops would...
Also very funny. Watching this, I funny as in weird, not. Every single time she lies, she has a giant smile. It's very funny that she has such a big tail. Her smile is as big as my VTubers right now, which is fine because I'm an anime girl. But It's very intriguing.
Be sticking around. Can you expound upon that, what we should expect from U.S. troops in theater for the next 2 weeks and beyond?
I would defer you to the Pentagon for any specifics on assets that have been in place in the Middle East, but take the Secretary at his word, and also the President has reiterated this as well in his own words, that we're not going to move anything immediately. Again, this is a 2-week ceasefire where we hope at the end, and we expect at the end, we'll have a good agreement between the United States and Iran, but in the meantime, we're going to ensure that our military is always at the ready of the Commander-in-Chief. Take a couple more in the back. Sure.
NATO,
On NATO, I'll take your question.
Thank you, Caroline. On NATO, can you tell me, is the United States still considering withdrawing from NATO? Is that still a possibility?
It's something the President has discussed, and I think it's something the President will be discussing in a couple of hours with Secretary General Ruta, and perhaps you'll hear directly from the President following that meeting later this afternoon. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, let's just randomly at the end of the meeting just say that U.S. might drop from NATO. Okay. Okay. That's a thing that happened. Now, here, I'm just looking at my schedule of things to be. I am just thinking. I have like one more thing, but that's like going to be an hour and a half, and I don't want to stop that in the middle of that. And since we're almost at 3 hours, I'll think I am. Let me see who's open to be rated right now on Twitch. No one I know of, but let's go to the dashboard. Actually, hold on. Let me double check because I want to see if there's any VTubers. We'll just do that person. If you stick through the raid, you will get bonus points. So if you want bonus points, please stick through the raid. Thank you for everyone who joined today. But yeah.